People always ask me which neighborhood should I move to in Bend, and I always say it depends because everybody's different, our neighborhoods are different. So for the sake of comparison, I'm talking about two of my favorite neighborhoods in this video today, and that's Northwest Crossings and River West. These are both great neighborhoods, but they're made for completely different people. Hey, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to the Suzanne and Sarah YouTube channel. We are licensed realtors in Oregon. We're also investors. We serve buyers, sellers, and new and seasoned investors alike all across the state, and our community stretches far beyond just the state of Oregon. If you're thinking about a move here or an investment, or really just want to know what life looks and feels like here in Central Oregon, you're in the right place. So let's get into it. Most people lump the west side all into one chunk. And yeah, we divide our neighborhoods here into northeast, southeast, northwest, and southwest. And of course, the river is a pretty good estimate of dividing west from east, but they're not all created equally. And I just want to say as a disclaimer, this is not a ranking. This video is not meant to be a ranking because really every neighborhood is great and unique in its own right. But we are really just going to take a closer look at two specific neighborhoods. And then we're going to talk about them, how they look side by side, what's different, and then give you a little bit of a framework for helping you make a decision on which one might be best for you. We're going to start off by talking about River West. And as it sounds, it's on the west side of Bend. It hugs the Deschutes River, and it really covers a pretty big area on the northwest side of Bend. Now, River West is one of only 13 designated or recognized neighborhoods in the city of Bend. And this one has its act together. It's got some neighbors with real pride, some community members with real pride. There's actually an elected board. They have meetings. People are really involved and show up for this neighborhood. This particular area has 20 parks within its boundaries. It's got trail access and river access inside of one of the neighborhood areas. Now, the vibe here is definitely a little bit older homes, craftsmen, lots of character. You've got your occasional mid-century that really hasn't been touched yet, but this is the neighborhood where you walk out the front door and you're already somewhere. You don't have to go anywhere beyond where you live. And this is why people really love living here. When people say they want walkability and they want access to downtown and amenities, we start in River West. We're talking about access to things like coffee shops, lots of restaurants, the river trail, it is all right there. And then the Deschutes River Trail runs right through it as well. And that's not just a selling point, that's actually what people do on Tuesday night after dinner. They walk out their front door and walk on the Deschutes River Trail. So the type of people that end up in this neighborhood are usually couples, whether that's young or old. It's people who are creative, who are a little bit funkier, usually a little bit artsier, people who are remote workers, and people who want to feel like they live in a city. Bend is a relatively small city in the grand scheme of things, but if you're coming from a bigger city and like that urban feel still, River West is usually a good choice. It's for those people who their ideal morning is waking up, walking out their front door to get coffee, and then jumping on the trail. This is your neighborhood for that. What I will say is the trade-off is that you're definitely paying for location. You need the budget for it. You definitely pay more per square foot, and in general in this neighborhood, because the homes are a little bit older and less modern, you get less square footage. Because it's got more of an urban feel, I'll say there's a mix in the lot size. Some of the lots are significantly smaller, especially the ones that are more towards the urban areas and on the main drags. But there are some, as you get up into the hills, that have larger lots. So there's a mix, and if lot size is important for you, it exists. The homes here, as I've already mentioned, are definitely older in most cases, but that really is part of the charm. But it's also part of the consideration. Older homes usually need more improvements, cost more to improve. And if they're still in original condition, you're looking at a big rehab budget or a big maintenance budget. Now, Galveston, which runs west to east, is really the main commercial corridor, and it is definitely important to say that it gets noise. Also, a little bit further north in Galveston, still in the River West area, is Portland Avenue. It's more residential along Portland, but it is a busy throughway. So if you're looking at any homes on or near Galveston or on or near Portland Avenue, definitely do a drive-by or have your realtor do a drive-by before you completely fall in love with it, and if you mind road noise. Usually River West isn't necessarily for big families or people that need huge homes or big yards. They're usually for people who don't mind a little bit smaller spaces and who are more interested in where and what they have access to than actually staying within the boundaries or confines of their own home or a lot. So something worth noting, at least here in June of 2026, the Galveston Corridor is actively being improved by the city right now. So they're improving things like the infrastructure around it, including city sidewalks and bike lanes. And there's also a lot of construction and money being put in by personal investors and real estate developers. Yeah, just people who are continuing to invest in the area. And what this tells me is that people are betting on this area in the long term. We're going to make a switch over to Northwest Crossings now. And this one's got an interesting origin story that I think is worth talking about. Northwest Crossings started as 486 acres of family-owned land, and two developers approached the same landowner separately. And instead of just picking one of them, that landowner told them to partner. He was like, I'm not going to give this to one of you. I want you two to do this together. And it's pretty cool because this partnership became the West Bend Property Company. And they were really intentional about what they did. They wanted to build something that had never been done before in Bend. And what they did was they built a mixed-use neo-traditional community. And if you don't know what that means, it replicates that early pre-World War II American towns, really like where before cars dominated how we built things and what was going on there. So really core ideas and the foundational ideas of the Northwest Crossings area is walkable streets with sidewalks, front porches, think backloaded garages. Garages aren't the front and center piece of the home. And then definitely mixed use housing types. So think single family, townhomes, cottages. There are a few apartments, but it's really meant to weave commercial and retail into the neighborhoods themselves and really not separate it out into strip malls, which has resulted in a really beautiful area that a lot of people really love. So it's grid-based for sure, and if you look at a map, it's really cool. You can look at Compass Park area and see what I mean. So it's really this really connected street layout, so it's meant so you can actually get places on foot, so it's not these straight lines necessarily all the time. In this area, the parks and civic spaces are meant to be focal points and not afterthoughts. The architecture in these areas is diverse, and that's part of what makes it so wonderful, right? Just in a lot of new construction, newer areas, of course, you get these very spec builder homes, and in this area, in this block, they all look the same. And that is not the case here in Northwest Crossings. In this particular area, they actually had to create a new zoning category, and it was the first time that had been used in this city. So it's a really sweet spot, and it does not look like a cookie cutter subdivision. Most developers would have sold to just a large few production home builders that have the same floor plan, same look, but that is not what happened here. When you go into Northwest Crossings, construction usually from 2002 to 2018 is the majority of it, and it's not homogenous. What it offers homeowners today, people, neighbors today, really is newer infrastructure, bigger lots, more square footage for your money in most cases. It's still, don't get me wrong, you're still paying usually between this day and age, $575 to $750 a square foot. But like I said, you get newer infrastructure, you get walkability, but it's a different kind of walkability than we're talking about in River West. Another cool thing and great feature about the Northwest Crossings area is that Shevlin Park, which is one fantastic park of many here in Bend that's on the far west side, is essentially in your backyard. And really, that's not a small thing. It's large acreage, it's got its own fishing pond, its own venue. So that's one park. I've already mentioned Compass Park, but there's also Discovery Park, Manzanita Ridge, Lewis and Clark, and there's lots of mountain biking trails. So really, it's an easy place for kids and adults alike, and pups, because we're such a dog-friendly city, to be outside. So as I mentioned, it's walkable, but not River West walkable. It's urban walkable, like it's neighborhood walkable. It's the kind of place where you see people walking their dogs and walking their children, going to other people's homes. And it has its own urban area, like we talked about, but it's more focused in one specific area versus River West, where everything's spread out. I think also one thing worth noting that's very different than River West is that Northwest Crossing has an architectural review committee, and if you've ever dealt with one of those, it's just something to know about, right? It's something that governs the exterior design of your property. So anytime you want to make updates to something like paint or landscaping or put an addition in, it's something that you have to go through. It's obviously something that people do, but it's another hoop to jump through. This area doesn't have a full HOA with monthly fees and a long list of rules, but there are things like that are worth considering. Another big reason that people buy or want to move into the Northwest Crossing area really are the schools. It's one of the number one reason that people choose Northwest Crossings, because Ben Lapine School District obviously has great schools throughout, but the schools in this particular area are really good. They're top rated for our area. Another thing that's cool about the history here in this area, and just another reason to bet on this area, is during the Great Recession, like the meltdown that happened with real estate during 2007 to 2009, the demographic of people who were buying shifted largely to cash buyers, people that were trying to scoop up good deals. And there were a lot of out of area investors, retirees, empty nesters who saw Bend as a deal at the time, and they wanted to invest in this West Side community with real infrastructure. So I think that says something about the resilience of the area, where other places maybe homes weren't moving, properties weren't moving, things were still moving in Northwest Crossings. And then after things rebounded from the recession, all of a sudden, as early as like 2016, homes were selling at like a 50% premium. So they were selling like $200,000 more than people had bought them for just a few years before. Also, Northwest Crossings has been nationally recognized as a top 50 master planned community. It's been recognized as a top green community in terms of just its building standards. That was all done really intentionally from the start. I think one of the trade-offs here in Northwest Crossings, if we're going to be honest, is that it's planned and it shows. So if you don't like cookie cutter, if you don't like brand new, if you don't like things feeling like you're in one designated type area, it might not be for you. Other people show up in Northwest Crossings and they're like, hey, I've found my people. So it's unique and specific. The other thing is, like I said, it's definitely less walkable to downtown dining and nightlife as far as near the river and the Old Mill. Instead of walking, you're probably driving or biking, not stepping out your door like you would be doing in the River West area. Let's just do a quick side-by-side recap. So River West is urban, it's walkable, it's got the river, coffee shops. When we're talking about Northwest Crossing, we're talking about lots of families, neighborhoods, parks, trails, places where people can actually be outside and enjoy the planned space. When we're talking schools, River West, of course, has good access, but it's not the primary reason that people choose the neighborhood. Whereas Northwest Crossing, of course, as I already mentioned, has top-rated elementary schools, high school, and it really is the number one reason why families pick Northwest Crossings. Price per square foot, the price in Northwest Crossing has been going up over the years, and I think this day and age, it's pretty comparable, especially because Northwest Crossing's homes are newer in general, but I would say historically River West homes are priced higher by square foot because you are paying for that highly walkable location, and homes with smaller square footage in Bend do tend to go for more per square foot versus larger homes that tend to scale down in price per square foot ever so slightly. When we're talking about character, again, River West has got that kind of funky older homes, real history, like they've got that lived in feel that's a little bit more eccentric or artsy, definitely keeping that craftsman vibe. But Northwest Crossing, it's definitely intentionally designed for variety. It's not as cookie cutter as you imagine any other new construction development or neighborhood, but you can tell that the homes have a certain style, but it is done in a more variety type way. River West, you've got Deschutes River Trail at your back door. Northwest Crossings, you've got Shedland Park right there and multiple named trails, Bill's Trail for one. When it comes to investment potential, I'd say both are strong, but it's different renter profiles. Again, you've got the urban renters versus the families and long-term tenants. I think both hold really well in terms of just value and appreciation. We haven't seen a crash in either of those markets over the years. So when I think about these two neighborhoods, I like to say if you want to walk out your front door and be somewhere, you want River West. If schools are a top priority and you want a little bit more space for your money, then you might consider Northwest Crossings. If you're an investor, both have a strong rental demand. It just really depends on who you're renting to or if you're looking to use it yourself as a lifestyle play. We've helped clients buy in both of these neighborhoods, and I'll tell you exactly what I think fits your situation. If you want to send me a note, give me a call. I am usually pretty good at pinning people within the first 10 to 15 minutes on where I think they would like the best after asking a few good questions. Drop me a comment here below, reach out directly. Our information's everywhere. You know how to find us. We've got links in the description that will help you do that easily. If you're not already subscribed to our channel, please do. This is where you can come to have more information on Bend lifestyle, learn about investing, and learn what it really feels like to live in Bend and hear it from us straight. Again, I'm Sarah. Thanks for watching the Suzanne and Sarah YouTube channel. We'll see you on the next episode.